out of the view.
No, I'm going to show my support for Zionism.
Silence your phones, gentlemen. Bismillah.
Is this episode brought to us?
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
I was thinking these guys have to deal with.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mad Mamluks. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Sheikh Amir and Mort and...
Assalamu alaikum.
There's another Mort there. There's two Morts. Hang on, I gotta
Two
fix these
Morties.
cameras.
Mort squared.
Mort squared.
M2.
Yes, you're Mort squared right now. Look at you.
Mortain?
Mortain.
Let me fix this camera.
Munafik.
That's the first thing you say when you see your face.
Hasub Muattel, right?
Very nice, yes. Slow computer.
Broken computer, right?
I mean, it's just it's not working properly.
Yeah, not working.
I'm liking
It's
this
delaying.
whole black garb.
Me too. It makes
giving
me look
like-
skinnier.
It's giving me like Ayatollah feels. Like,
Astaghfirullah. But I got the white topi on, bro.
yeah, like
Yeah,
white
Ayatollah.
imam. You know, they believe the white ones are Sayyids. You know that, right?
I know, but I'm not a Sayyid.
I thought you were going to Sayyid Amr.
No, I'm a Sayyid.
Oh.
And we have a very special guest,
Assalamu
inshallah,
alaikum ya jama'a.
who's making a return, who's afraid of what's going to happen
Alaikum
afterwards.
assalam Sardor.
Who's Sardor?
He's in the chat saying, Assalamu alaikum ya jama'a.
Alayhi salam.
Alaikum assalam. Abuya.
Yeah, Abu.
Yeah, but yeah.
All right, why don't you guys talk before?
Okay, so me and Sim, well, at different times, we tried to coordinate going to this Palestine event. I
remember that.
It was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, in Chicago downtown. I mean, I didn't stay for all the music stuff, whatever, but it was a cool bazaar.
Yeah.
A nice little. I got to network with some people there. I found a brother who was actually, I think we may bring him on the show. He's a boxer. He was doing some auctioning for some of his stuff. He's ranked right now locally. And another brother came up with like this halal version of Nutella. Like it's halal hazelnut. The whole discussion about hazelnut. Phenomenal, man. I got like a couple bottles. Amazing stuff. It's better than the real stuff.
Get out.
And we know him. I don't want to give his name right now, but you
Yeah.
know him. And I'll tell you about him later. But yeah, I want to maybe bring him on and talk about it because this is like a product worth like promoting. Yeah, I mean it's phenomenally
Wait, when
good.
was Nutella haram though?
He's saying, when was Nutella haram? Haram.
Well, some people say because of the hazelnut thing. They
the
say
way
that,
they extract it.
yeah.
Hanafis, right?
Dude, I don't want to get into the fic conversation. What the fic?
Because
What the fic?
You
Sim?
have no idea what's going through my heart. I was like, no more. It's too soon. We just started. No, but no. So I know they had like a art exhibition thing too.
Yeah, I
Did you guys
saw
go
that.
to
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean they had a nice little they had a bunch of different things. They had awesome T-shirt designs. Dude, they were like selling T-shirts of Yahya Sinwar, like the
Oh,
last
I'm
moment.
not surprised.
They even had pictures like they had like sweatshirts of Abu Ubaidah. Like you found like
How did
white
that place
girls.
not get shut down, dude?
You found like white girls buying sweatshirts of Abu Ubaidah.
It helps when white people buy that stuff.
Yeah,
bro.
when
It
white
helps
people,
the cause big
when
time.
white people come in, everything is good.
Yeah, dude.
You don't have a thing to worry about. Like
You're right.
we're rocking.
They
it.
got us, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got our back. Like,
Yeah.
When white people come to an event,
Yeah.
oh, you're golden. Nothing's gonna shut down.
Confidence to the my
Oh,
confidence
yeah.
goes to the roof.
I'm
That's your hall pass right there.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah,
talk to
it
the
is.
white guy. Talk to Karen over there. Talk to John.
And our guest of honor.
Yeah.
all right, and here he is, Shaz. Welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Well, your quarterly visit to.
Quarterly drop-in.
Quarterly dropping. Well, I would come more often, but Sheikh Amir here makes me feel unwelcome.
Well, that's
Very
It's
true.
the
I mean,
very
that,
common.
toxic environment that he creates here.
now you know why I haven't been showing up that often.
There we go.
Yeah. It's just,
Sim, I think you need to hire a diversity, equity, and inclusion manager.
we'll look into it, inshallah. Folks, if you're just logging in, please, the cherry on top. click on that like buttons, throw the comment section below.
Yes.
And help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. This show is entirely supported by your efforts. We do not make any money off of the show. We have regular jobs where we're supporting our families. This show goes out to many different things that you don't even see on YouTube. It goes to Africa on the Islam channel. They have licenses to use certain episodes of ours where they're not every show. It's a family channel, you know.
Yeah.
It goes to prisons. All the brothers in prisons, like, hey, if you guys are out of commission for a month, we're dying inside. They don't get access to YouTube.
Otherwise, they have to listen to Catholic material.
So, and there's not that many Muslim podcasts, right?
That's crazy.
There's
Actually,
a lot of YouTube channels, but
for somehow we got approved to be in prison.
yeah,
I don't know how it happened, but they approved the Mad Mamluks in prison.
I think because we're in the religion section in the podcasts.
And the other ones are not?
I don't know. I think that's probably why. So I'm sure there's a limitation to it.
I'm pretty sure there's other podcasts I get into, but I'm just saying that there's a certain demographic of brothers. Like one of the brothers I'm in communication with right now. It was a beautiful thing to hear because sometimes you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like on all levels. And then some brothers like, man, when I was incarcerated, your guys' shows were the only thing that was keeping me going. And you don't really think about that. Like, what?
You know, I didn't realize the outreach, Sim, because... Yeah. So I have all these different social media accounts, and I hardly check them, right? I mean, you know how you have to have like TikTok just to see things and post things, and Instagram. I don't really check messages, right? So apologies in advance to anybody who sends messages. I check them like once every couple of months, right? So, but I got all these messages on a particular social media platform where it was like, hey, can you upload this? And I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And then I realized that it's these brothers and sisters from prison. They're incarcerated. And they're like, hey, we didn't get these episodes. I have to tell Sim that, hey, can you upload that or can you reload this? And I don't know how to get access to that particular platform or that whatever, but they're able to.
Yeah.
And they just basically communicate and say, hey, we need to have this episode or we didn't get that one or whatever.
Essentially, they have what at least what I understand is or what my guess is that there's like a bandwidth limitation. So audio is generally a lot lower data consumption and stuff. So and video they will probably put a limit on because it just takes a lot of data, right? So it makes sense for them to, at least if they want to keep your prisoners happy in some way, or the incarcerated, I don't know what the proper term is, but if you want to keep them in good spirits and morale, they want to give you some entertainment, but not at too much of a sacrifice. So
also I think again, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but I think they have like these tablets which are heavily monitored and locked down with various lockdown software, so they can do things like get ebooks, read ebooks, and probably podcasts, limited podcasts, but they control everything. It goes through a special app.
Yeah.
It probably is like library time or something.
Yeah,
they can sit there and just like plug in their headphone and just kind of.
I need to give that to my kids, man.
Yeah, if they
have that now.
Like you want these prison type material for your kids because these kids, you think that because you want them to feel like they're included, because they go to school and they see other kids having these devices and stuff. You want to be part of the thing, right? But I want to be able to have complete control. I want to be able to click on a button on
Google
my phone.
Family.
They have that.
No, it's not complete, bro. It's you cannot get full control.
You mean like app by app?
You don't know
mean
exactly what is happening on your phone, like what button is being pressed.
So you want
Google Family?
granular?
Doesn't Google Family limit
No,
on that?
no.
It's not.
It's very
not
basic.
It's
He's
very
talking
basic.
about granular level, like analyze. But I know, like Meta has rolled out this new thing where you can do like automatic shut off times.
Yeah.
So like after like 7, it'll shut down their WhatsApp and like their Facebook or whatever it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's timed, so they can't change
It's
that.
a device or it's software?
It's on the software you can do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta look into that, and maybe we'll do a show about it.
There's a lot of softwares out there that schools and I guess prisons also use and stuff, but at least from the school perspective, where you can track like the keystrokes that kids make. And then, if they backspace over something, like if they start typing something bad, like SE, and then backspace, you can see all of those things. So there's a lot of
that because
softwares.
my stepson has that, like a tablet. It tracks everything.
Really?
You got to buy it.
Yeah.
So it's a special tablet you have to have.
The school provides it.
I see. Oh, on the school level,
So what he's saying is they have software that can do that. Keystroke loggers, sites visited, restrictions, like on what you can do, what apps you can open, right? All that stuff, right? They have all that limited, like what you can browse through the apps. You know, parental settings in terms of what the apps can be downloaded, all that stuff, right?
Nice.
So,
yeah, dude. But anyways, man.
Talking about control,
election
micro level control.
Yeah, election night.
Apparently,
did you guys go vote? Who voted here? Mort doesn't vote. I know. Sheikh Hammer doesn't vote. Shaz, did you vote?
You guys didn't vote?
We didn't vote.
These two
Oh
don't.
my God! Are you kidding
Sorry,
me?
Sammy Hamdi.
We're not losers, bro. We have a life.
You had Sami Hamdi come here, sit in this seat, tell you guys everything to do for like 2 hours straight, and you guys didn't vote.
Yeah.
Well, I
voted for the Green Party. I did. I went ahead and
Thank you, Sim.
You
Thank
voted for who?
Jill Stein.
Oh, Jill
Green
Stein.
Party.
It was just like my vision. Like, I know you guys have listened to the show for years. I don't believe in this representative, quote unquote, representative democracy. This sham that they have, where they make you think like you actually have a choice. They want to make you feel like you're in control, that your opinion matters. People who know that no matter which president is coming into office, they're getting the same options. Majority of the time, vast majority of the time, they're getting the same option A and option A.1. It's like the same thing, but just slightly different. President Trump, you'd be very smart of you to take option A, and they'll know he's not going to take option A.
Yeah.
Very good choice for taking option A.1. You're brilliant. Silly me.
Pat yourself on the back.
Silly me.
It's like that Simpsons episode.
It's
No,
like,
but what? No, that's interesting. But what drove you to do Jill Stein? Because
just because she's a Palestine, she's the only candidate who was running on the pro-Palestine platform. That's the majority of what she's been talking about.
So that seems to be like an FU vote.
Just to let the Democrats know that, hey, this is what matters to me.
So for me, I think a total, for me, the rationale was, I thought about what he was saying too, was that a total absence in vote means that I'm not buying the system.
Yeah.
Right at the moment, right? Like maybe if I lived in a state that was going to be a quote unquote swing state, I may have considered deciding who to vote for. But being in Chicago itself, like, I mean, we were almost even blue during Ronald Reagan almost, and that's almost everything. Even California went red, right? I mean, I'm not saying we didn't. We went red, but I'm saying that's the last time that it was pretty much. For those that don't know internationally or maybe even the country, Illinois, which is the state that Chicago's in, is pretty much like part of the blue wall. So that means traditionally it's been Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan. Michigan now is under fire because of the whole Arabs and the stuff there, but traditionally, like, that's just been the blue wall, and they call it that because it's basically is the defense for the entire Northeast, because the Northeast goes pretty much blue for the most part, and then everything below and in the middle becomes what do you call, like, almost Republican, right? More conservative, Bible Belt, so forth, so on. But Illinois is just one of those states that are just extremely blue. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Before we get to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be talking about, what are your predictions for tonight? Who comes away with the
I
win?
think Donald Trump.
Sheikh Hammer.
I think Donald Trump wins.
Donald Trump. You.
I was looking
Mort.
at the stuff. Oh, Mort.
No, so go ahead. The camera's on you now.
I didn't know. I didn't know if it was gonna. It was a flip, like a coin toss. But I was looking at the results. 198 electoral votes for Trump and 109.
You don't
want to
hear. No, don't cheat, bro. Don't cheat.
I'm not cheating.
No,
I'm just saying.
Data now.
I think maybe Trump now.
But those are pre-poll. That's that's without the Democratic states.
Yeah, without California, without Illinois
it's
counting.
a build-up. It's to make your heart pump a little bit.
No, the red.
At the end of the day,
the red states get counted first.
At the end of the day, who's gonna win? Just say it.
Trump.
Okay, thank you.
Morty?
I don't know. I really don't know.
You're not going to think Jill Stein's
No,
going to win?
I really don't know. I don't know. I think it's full of toss-up. I really can't say. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Trump wins. I wouldn't be surprised if Kamala wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's a coin toss. It really is a knife's edge.
If I had to choose, if I had to pick a name,
gun to your head. Gun to your head.
Trump.
Trump. Yeah. And I say Trump as well.
Yeah.
All right. We are waiting for one of our guests as well to join us. His name is Ismail Royer. You guys must be familiar with him, but if you are at least longtime listeners should be, because he was one of our most popular episodes.
OG.
Yeah, he was the first American jihadi episode. He went to federal prison for going to participating as a he participated, I don't want to butcher it, he participated as a militant for a country that America is neutral in. So he fought in Pakistan, right? But he also fought in Bosnia and stuff. So he went to prison for that. Really good dude. I'm really excited to have him. Hopefully he sorts out whatever issues he has and joins us soon, inshallah. So, big news hit us like a sledgehammer. Sunday night, I got a text message. Actually, a few days before that, I got a message stating, Al-Maghrib let go of Wisam Sharieff. There was a Al-Maghrib post on social media, on Twitter. And I thought, maybe something. It sounded like the language was loaded. I don't like that it's kind of loaded. It's not really giving us any kind of information. We'll find out later why it was kind of framed that way. But the information was just kind of vague, and we kind of set it aside. We all saw it in our group chat, and we said, okay, interesting. And then a few days later, one of my people I follow on Twitter says, hey, they're not giving you guys the whole story here. He retweets that tweet and says, this is not the complete picture. This is a very soft, mild language around what actually happened here. So I started messaging a few people. Soon I get a document from an affidavit, a legal document from an FBI agent who is doing an investigation. And we find out incredibly horrifying details of how one of Wisam Sharieff's students was a 50-year-old mom and a daughter were performing sexual acts for him. She was instructing her own daughter to do acts for him on camera, and it was terrifying while he was watching and pleasuring himself while watching, and he's on video. There's like evidence here in this document where you could be the biggest conspiracy theorist of them all, and there's no way to weasel out your way out of this. You know?
Can I just add something? First of all,
yeah,
the language being used is also even disturbing. Like that, apparently they were being instructed to do this because having these orgasms were going to bring them closer to Allah.
Yeah.
And this is not just, by the way, because something got leaked out on Twitter or Facebook. Allegedly, and I want to try to give him his benefit until he's proven guilty, right? But following the line of the story, his wife finds this material on his phone, on a Telegram message. So it's not that something got leaked and his wife, out of the horror of witnessing child pornography and vile content, felt obligated to report this to the FBI. And that's what prompted it wasn't like the FBI was investigating him or there was anything going on here. The complaint of the wife of Wisam is what actually prompted them to do an investigation and get warrants for his Telegram devices. They can look at it, and they basically share, and they didn't even get to all of it on the affidavit. He just shared what he felt was sufficient enough to grant, a warrant for his arrest and all those kind of things. And just that alone in that affidavit is what we're talking about. We read here is damning. There's even messages of conversations, inserts of what videos are supposed to be, what he's doing in the video, what the minor and the mother are doing in the video, like the types of chats they're having.
Yeah.
And it's pretty detailed to the point where it's kind of hard to believe it's made up.
No, it's not that. It's there's already been an arrest in Alabama for that mother, so we've already have information related to her arrest and confirmation that she's been arrested, and we'll get to that in a second. But I kind of put the document on screen for you guys to see. So in the first paragraph, the special agent's identifying himself. This is what an affidavit is that kind of is sealed before an arrest. It kind of goes to the judge, and I believe the way it works is after the arrest, it gets unsealed. So the assumption is that Wisam's already been arrested, and this has been unsealed because of that event happening.
Because the arrest warrant was issued.
Yeah. So I am a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation assigned to the Birmingham Division. This is Birmingham, Alabama, folks. I have been a special agent since March 2017, and I'm currently assigned to Squad 3 of the FBI Birmingham Division to the FBI Birmingham Division's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force. My duties include investigations related to internet crimes involving computers and electronic devices, child pornography, sexual exploitation of children, human trafficking, and various other violent crimes against children. Prior to my employment with the FBI, I was employed as a law enforcement officer by the state of Alabama for about 9 years. So he's basically just doing an introduction to himself, and I'm just going to scroll down and I make this affidavit in support of an application under Rules 3 and 4 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure for a warrant authorizing the arrest of Wisam A. Sharieff. As a federal law enforcement officer, I am authorized to execute warrants under Rule 4C, 1 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. So just want to take a pause here, and I just realized, like, there may be some people who don't even know who Wisam Sharieff is. Wisam Sharieff is not like, some lightweight. He is pretty well known in the United States as a Quran teacher. He has a considerable level of influence. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, he had some event where his name was on the flyer, and his picture was on the flyer, and I saw that, and I'm like, oh man, I met Wisam a couple times. I just shook his hand, a couple words here and there. But I'm like, oh, I never invited Wisam on the show. That's just awful of me, I'm a bad guy. So that's what I thought,
That's usually the case.
Because
yeah,
I'm, my soft, bleeding heart always,
so soft.
try to help out people,
So let me ask you guys.
Allah protected you.
Alhamdulillah. So anyway, Wisam Sharieff has considerable level of knowledge. He has a lot of classes where he teaches a lot of students from Maghrib Institute to other sessions that he has as well. Oh,
you guys know the other YouTube channel. He has a whole bunch of classes of acquaintances of ours.
He was one of the early utilizers of social media and to talk about the art of Quran recitation and tajweed, and he brought a format that was a lot of people now use in terms of trying to get people to articulate
and
words in
memorization.
Arabic memorization, especially for a Western audience in the Western tongue. He's able to convey rules of tajweed in a format that is understandable, and so he was a pioneer, kind of in that, in like a video format, an online format.
So if we can start with the why, someone can say, and many people have, number one, not too many people know about him. So why would you have an entire episode and just like, he's a Muslim brother, he's going to face all of it. So why have a whole podcast about it?
Right. And I think that's an important and actually legitimate question, because there's sometimes a kind of a knee-jerk reaction that happens when you're kind of faced with someone challenging you. Then I think it's a legitimate question, and
because you shouldn't get offended. Your brother, right?
Right, and especially considering that this was a situation where there's video evidence played a large part in my decision making to talk about it, because this kind of a thing is not like a joke. They don't like fabricate stuff. His phone was confiscated. There was a forensic investigation done on it. there was a lot of stuff incriminating him in this document that shows that he's going to be going to jail for a very long time.
And the message that he sent out, the proof of that, his phone being confiscated, there was another post of his that was sent through his friend because he no longer had his phone anymore. Yeah. Someone in this situation doesn't have their phone anymore. So that was another guy who posted by the name of Daisy or something, who attributed it to that message that I sent you guys, because Wisam no longer had his phone anymore, right? So he, whether it was an attorney or whoever the case was, he filled them in what to say, and they typed it on their own social media and shared it and spread it.
So I think what's so I don't differ too much in what Sim is saying, but I think for me the reason why I wanted to talk about it today is not necessarily because of Wisam. And to be honest, like what as horrendous as what he did is, or allegedly has done, right? I think there's a bigger takeaway here.
Yes.
And that takeaway is that parents need to be vigilant as parents and stop offloading the job of parenthood onto other people. A simple concept of khalwa, like being in seclusion with opposite genders and your children being isolated with people who are strangers to them, is a no-no. Doesn't matter if somebody is a sheikh or a leader of your community, or whatever, a close friend. These are things that you should never be okay with doing. And oftentimes we can blame Wisam or people like this, right? But at some point, if we are going to have an honest conversation about this, at what point do we blame parents?
Yeah, but here's the thing though. With this case,
it's
the parent was
the
perpetrator. She had some level of at least some kind of romantic involvement with him.
Sure.
And she was assisting her own daughter in making him happy. Right?
But I think the point about khalwa still stands. Like, as let's say that, okay, I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt.
There's something that triggers all of this.
I don't believe that Wisam started off teaching Quran because he wanted to get into women's pants, right? That's not something I believe. Right? I could be wrong, Allahu alam. But what I'm saying is that the shaitan can play on anybody.
Yep.
Look, that woman, yes, as a parent, she's accountable. As a woman, she's accountable, right? But what I'm saying though, as a person of knowledge, a person of position and status, you should know, you should be advocating not to make khalwa. If someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm going to teach you whatever, right? You should, my focus here is people in power who blur that line, or they kind of end up saying, it's okay, I'm an imam, people need me, right? The shaitan plays like this. Even, it's not just Quran teaching, counseling sessions. Yep. Oh, brother, I need advice on my marriage, my husband, this and that, I need to seek advice from you. These things are ways you have to be very vigilant and careful, because the shaitan finds, that's an avenue. Yeah. The minute you find someone, because think about it, the shaitan knows human psychology.
Yeah.
Right? The same way these evil politicians know how to play on your emotions, the shaitan is a beast at that. Yeah. He knows how to do that. Yeah. Oh, how can I turn down this religious woman who's looking for sincere advice in her marriage?
Barsisa.
Right. So you begin to play, and so imams, I don't care if it's a refresher course, or you have to put a post-it on your computer or on your door in your hand, but you need to be reminded every day that khalwa is a no-no.
Yes, sir. No, and
wait, what's Barsisa?
Yeah.
Barsisa is the one from Bani Israel, the sick, the brothers. The brothers that went travel and say, hey, look out for a sister. Shaitan comes and does waswas to him, you're just going to leave the food out here, you should give the food to her and go. Basically what ends up happening, it's a long story. It's a beautiful story. I want to get at it towards the end of this episode, but he basically ends up getting her pregnant. He ends up killing her, ends up burying the baby and the mother, obviously. The brothers come back, and they're taking him to get executed, and Shaitan comes to him and said, hey, I got you in a situation, get out, all you have to do is sajda to me. He just sajda to Shaitan, and then he gets killed, right? So it's a long story short. So the reason why I want to talk about the khalwa thing is very, very important. Look, I don't even blame, but the problem isn't on an individual level. I'll give you a small example. When I came back from Egypt, I always, wallahi, and you could ask the people who worked with me, the brothers who I used to work with as far as like ICNA and ILF and other places, even in school when I was teaching at IFS, I hated teaching girls, bro. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. Number one, because I'm
sexist.
No, I am. No, dude, I never believed in my heart that men should be teaching women ever, unless if it's like in a masjid, give me a khutbah. But the fact that men can be alone with women is a big problem. It's a huge problem. Bro, I heard teachers, I'm telling you, bro, it's like, it's the stupidest thing. We always think that we're like super pious, that, oh, just because someone's a teacher, they're not going to be affected. It's the stupidest thing in the world. The reason I'm saying is I heard some of these guys, imams, that are calling up Wisam Sharieff, they're in those same situations where in the groups alone with women. And women, they've told me that women hit on them and all this. But when Wisam messes up or somebody else messes up, what do they say? Evil, I hope he rots in hell. I was like, dude, you're in the same situation. You've been in very close situations. You should not be talking right now.
Situation is a bit different from
it is, other, I'll tell you.
Because of the minor.
I'll tell you at the community level. Because when I used to tell that to people and community leaders, they're like, oh, well, brother, how are the women going to benefit? The sisters have to benefit too. There's that thing. It's like, brother, this is a different time. Like, you have to be relevant. You're a youth. You have to be relevant to the people, right? And I never really liked that because Imam Mark Manley, he said something really cool. This whole youth director thing is a new phenomenon, right? Like, why would you entrust a youth with young boys and young girls?
Yeah.
Like in a masjid, this whole thing of relevancy. You know why this relevancy thing comes up? And I'll tell you why it's related to capitalism. 3 different masjid boards that I sat with when they're discussing this thing, this is what they say. We have to have a youth program. The youth program brings in traffic. Traffic brings in donations, so we need to have this. Right? It's a very capitalistic way of thinking of using this model now. And I blame some of the like whole Maghrib style marketing, like people who get PhDs in marketing and like use a capitalistic model of marketing applied to ilm because, oh, it'll all work out. No, it's not going to work out. Number one, the people that come there, you give them this certain understanding of Islam, which is very, very like feminist, watered down, and you know, you have to make really, really good money. And you guys know that this problem that I always had with like making lots of money through Islamic studies. Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why, is because you get now, because you pay, you are given unfettered access to other people. Wives of people, daughters of people, sons of people, all you get this unfettered access because they're paying. They make the rules.
And they trust you.
And the problem with this unfettered access is the biggest issue, and you have to think, this is not the reason why I teach Islam. Just because I don't teach these sisters Islam, they're not going to learn about Islam. Like, who the hell am I?
Yeah.
Right? It's such a big problem in our community, and we're starting to feel this now. And you can ask many brothers who teach sisters and are part of these gatherings. They'll tell you, yes, I get DMs all the time. And bro, you can be the ugliest dude, but be very, very talented in your speaking, and you're in awe of, and people are in awe of you. It doesn't matter. No,
bro. but think about this for a moment.
It's the relationship that develops over time that really gets to.
There's a psychology behind it, right? Like, let's say this particular sister has spent hours listening to you on YouTube or a podcast for hours, right? Sometimes there is a affinity that develops, a familiarity, a trust.
On a human level too.
I know this person, right? And that is something that for women, trust is a big thing. Yeah. Right? Like, oh, this person is safe. He's an upstanding person.
That's on one level more. But imagine the celebrity culture. There's a whole different... No, but they can't get... Look, I'll give you one thing and I'll let you continue. The Muslim women generally can't access Johnny Depp. They can't access all these people. They're celebrities. But Muslims, we have our own celebrities, and they're much more accessible, right?
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is that this is tied to what you're saying. I'm saying they spend hours listening to these people. Yeah. Right? So they grow attached to a personality. Yeah. Like, and it's weird the way the shaitan plays with it, because they say, oh, this is halal entertainment for me. I'm benefiting. Yeah. He's such a great scholar. He gets me, right? These kinds of things, then it turns into a different thing, right? And I'm saying the same could also happen for men to women, but that we just don't have that many women that are up front. But I'm sure the same thing would happen to men who listen to women as well too, right? You think you get to know them. But to what Sim was saying earlier, that and he's right, this is a bit different in terms of because of a minor, but what I would say to what Amr is saying to what you're saying is that he got access to the minor because of that woman in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of the mother and this whole idea that we have to teach them. We have to make it accessible to them.
Yeah.
The Prophet opened the masjid to all the women.
But here's the counter argument that I've heard from many brothers, because I said that too on Twitter. I'm like, hey, we have unfettered access to sisters, and a lot of people pushed back on me, and I said, hey, good point. And they said, this problem is happening among all male madrasas all across the Muslim world, where boys are being molested by predators.
Yes.
Right? And is it really a gender problem? Is it a problem of khalwa when you're having predators stalk? Because the mind of a predator, he is much different than what the type of person you're talking about with relations to khalwa. A Wisam type predator is not going to look for a nice young girl, who's marriageable age and stuff like that. He's looking for a man who is absent in a family unit, a divorced woman with daughters, and he will target that woman, and he will try to, frame or create this safe area for her to confide in, and she'll feel like she's having a relationship with him while he has already spotted his target. Right?
What
he
he's
spotted
saying
his
is
target.
that-
He spotted the target was her daughter.
Yeah.
She was the actual target.
What he's saying is that, like, they'll say things like, oh, I know you've been mistreated by men before. I'm not that type of person. I know you need a safe place and you need a secure learning environment.
Yeah.
I know you need someone dependable. They use these key words and they get this trust. But what I'm saying, though, is that to what Amir is saying, and what you said right now, too, about the madaris and people getting abused, again, that's why you mentioned there's khalwa and there's access to children. Like, a lot of these madrasas where this happens, what's happening here? There's a prolonged stay away from parents.
Yep.
Hours upon hours
Exactly.
away from adult or parental supervision. And in earlier books of scholars, they've talked about this. That do not leave your children alone too long. And they would warn the scholars, don't stay alone with young boys for too long. Not that people are inherently homosexual or this. No, this is a prevention from the shaitan.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not about the individual. This is about the way the shaitan affects the individual and capitalizes on a situation where the individual doesn't even realize it's happening.
Yeah. So just to answer the whole madrasa thing, now, is it the vast majority of teachers? No. It's, again, this is why I think, again, this is different, because I think this mother was kind of like a pimp type lady, like almost like a OnlyFans type, supplying these type of services for people. I wouldn't be surprised if she has other clients too. So, but that's why that's different too, right? There's that other layer to it. But they all operate in the same way predators operate, whether they're with a bunch of boys or they're a bunch of girls or whether they're mixed. There's obviously, they're not the majority of human beings. They're a minority, but they slip into the cracks and they find who's vulnerable. They find who's the weakest. They find whatever. They're not going to go after some dude who can brawl and who's like a bodybuilder or whatever who can beat the heck out of them. They're going to go after a very vulnerable person and all that. Now, how this is prevented, number one, is obviously the culture. You have to choose what type of madrasa you go to. And parents shouldn't just be like, everything's going to be completely okay. They have to do their research. And we have to be able to vet these people out properly and not be like, oh, he's one of these students, and whenever these infractions happen, a huge example has to be made out of him. So the thing is that there's this power dynamic too also now with schools, and we see that with schools here too. It's the same thing in the West, where a reputation's on the line, so you have to brush it under the rug. And there should be zero tolerance, even if a student finds out about this. Like, I'm pro students beating the crap out of a teacher if they find out this happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, completely. Like, do it, bro. But that being said, I think there's one more thing that's really, really important, is that Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, in Al-Ihya, he mentioned something really beautiful. We'll get to the boys and the homosexual tendencies and stuff later, but that it doesn't make sense for men to have so much access and so much, I don't want to use the word popularity, but so much communication with women and people have taken some of his documentation of Ihya and called him a misogynist. I'm talking about Western academics and British academics and Orientalists. But he was onto something very, very important, right? And there's no comparison between the two, but I'll tell you something really, really important. Every single one of us has worked in a company, whether it's a part-time job or a full-time job, and you see the dynamics that occur between people. And one of the things why we were laughing is a long time ago when we were watching Patrice O'Neill, right? Yeah. And I'll come back to I hate to say Patrice O'Neill and Imam Ghazali in the same sentence, you know, but there's something really, really important. Why he was so funny is because he said things, and he was very PC. He said, men working with women is like having grizzly bears work with salmon. Right? And he's like, it's not just regular salmon, it's salmon dipped in honey. And the bear goes, I like salmon, and I love honey, but I can't do nothing. And I can't even go row. And he's talking about harassment, you know? It's like, I can't even go row and like just do that. Like, and you want me to work with salmon? And dude, he had a point there, right? Yeah. And Imam Ghazali had a point there, is that because of pragmatism and because we're supposed to be a little Western and we have some capitalist ideals of working with the opposite gender closely if we need to, but we're all going to control ourselves because we got through the whole job process and everything. No, and it doesn't happen like that. Yeah, it doesn't happen.
You know,
like
one thing what I was thinking about when I thought about this, if there's one thing I could probably, aside from the khalwa thing, convey to as a learning, a teachable, what they call teachable moment, right? Yeah. For the Ummah. Yeah. Is that you are not different than nations that came before you.
Exactly. It's a great point, sir.
Like the thing that happened with the Catholic Church, do you think we're above that? The thing that that would happen among, these, even in the Orthodox Jewish schools.
Sharieff, right? Are there mentions of this in the classical Islamic literature where scholars have talked about sexual abuse from a madrasa or in some capacity where a teacher abused his own male student in that regard? Like,
of course there is. Look, any issue that arises, that's something that has to be covered and that's going to be covered. Now, specific exammples of what somebody said,
what I'm trying to get at is this a modern phenomenon, or is
it's not a modern phenomenon. It's not a modern phenomenon, but if I can add another layer to this, right? When we were maturing and we were going through puberty, right? Naturally, guys, they went through this phase when they were in school and they see other girls and they get attracted to girls. And same thing happens with girls that get attracted to guys. It's a little different, the dynamic, right? Because we're made up differently. And that was our introduction to puberty. Yeah. The generation's introduction to puberty now is through pornography. Like, children prefer pornography over human beings in that type of puberty, right? So from the get-go, the hypersexualization is way when they're in mother's womb.
Actually, can I say, I don't know if it's necessarily pornography, but I think here's the thing.
That's one element to it.
Yeah, but I'm saying with social media, you're able to freely look and glance, even if it's not naked women.
Yeah, I know.
Right? If it's just looking at for example, staring at an attractive woman on TikTok for hours and following her every move, you can do that from the privacy of your bedroom.
Yeah.
And there's, you have no restriction on what you could watch.
It becomes the norm.
The norm, right? And so your attraction becomes to these almost in a taboo way, where you're kind of you're viewing it in a way that's almost unnatural.
Yeah.
Right. The natural way is that you go about your life and you see people in normal. You see how families interact with each other, husband and wife. You see that interaction, and that shapes the way you view yourself. Oh, when I get older, I also want to have a wife. I want to get married. I want to have that kind of relation.
Starts at
but
home.
Now, when you see it, you say, "Oh, I want to have a baddie. I want to have a girl that's doing that stuff. Oh, look at how they look." Right? This is what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Because they're trained this way. So the way that they're taught and how they view women, it's entirely different.
It's
now.
very different.
The same for women too.
But yeah, I'm just thinking a guy like Shaz, a guy like Wisam, because this kind of situation happens with pretty much every adolescent male who's growing up in the West. They're faced with the same environmental conditions. You guys are talking about puberty, the overly sexual nature of the world that we're in. But what possesses a man to go after a child, right? And that's what I've been wondering over the past few, someone who is learned and at least has so much, knowledge as well. You'd think that at some point there'd be some kind of way that was there some kind of abuses that happened to him?
That's a possibility too.
Well, he went to an organization that we've talked about before on here, where the leader of that organization was caught for doing similar things.
Yeah.
Right, and they kind of brushed it under the rug. But you know what? I really see. Here's the thing.
Well, you can't just leave it like that. I think the listeners will want to know what.
You want me to say? I don't know.
So hold on.
I don't want you to get.
I'll tell you why.
Because last time I say stuff, I get in trouble, and then you're like, "Oh, they want an apology."
Why?
No, I'm saying.
Why would you? Yeah.
Not him. I'm saying not him. I'm saying.
Are you guys giving khutbah? Are you guys giving khutbah over there?
No. I don't think they would allow me. No.
Are you hired?
By the way, I'm not saying Simga. I'm saying people out there get mad. They come to Sheikh Hammer. We want an apology. We demand one. How do you guys? So I'm just gonna say it because he
doesn't want any drama right now.
No, I'll say it now. I love it. Anyway, IIE, right?
Daniel Hakika's Masjid.
Yeah, they went out and they defended.
I came to the wrong podcast today.
They defended the head honcho who got caught fiddling around, right? And they tried to deny it. And they tried to say everything is a fabrication. He's gonna win it, and he went to court, and they found semen stains. I mean, this is not even like made up, right? And they caught him. They matched the DNA evidence, whatever, and he went to jail for this stuff, right? But the issue is that this is not just a one-time thing. It happened time and time again in this establishment and other ones like it, but people didn't speak up.
Yeah.
Right? And it happened to not only women, but boys.
Yeah.
Boys people we know who went there that would hear things happening in closets at late night. Right? And so that could be between boys, it could be between men and boys, whatever it was, but they did not, that was something that was hush-hush. Not about whether you know it's right or wrong, but it was intentionally kept hush-hush. And what I'm saying is that, I think to Sim's point is that I don't believe that Wisam came out thinking he's going to do this, but imagine all the psychological training. You hear these things, it's hush-hush. You're from maybe they could argue a society or culture or upbringing that's not really interacting with the other gender as much. So a lot of hush-hush, the secrecy, the hormones that rage with that whole secret habit type of thing, right? So this is one of those things that I believe carried on. And I believe in my hunch is that this woman who was 50 years old also has some weird kinky fetishes and fantasies.
No, I think she's a pimp.
She probably began throwing these things, and he was probably horny, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is great," and they started having these conversations about what kicks you on, what blah 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 blah, right? Whatever, and then it just morphs into one thing to the next thing. Yeah. Once you get started, it doesn't start off right away. Once you get started, and that ball's rolling, the shaitan gets you. Especially if you're a guy that's looking to get these weird kinky fetishes, like from older women or whatever it is, right? You don't want to stop getting that. Yeah. Right? You want to push it.
But now there's that thing that people even from the Epstein Island were talking about, is a lot of these guys, the influential politicians and like CEOs would go to the island is because they would feel so empowered that they can get what no one else can, no matter how illegal it is. And that's why they loved it. Right? They were like, no, some of them didn't even have an inclination to, pedophilia, but they were actually, it's a part of a power trip and a part of like the rules don't apply to you, so you can break all the rules and people get a kick out of that.
I think part of it also is that, and maybe Sim, you can comment too, Shaz, I don't know, but I think part of it is also like, you know how they say like when a man, one of the reasons why we don't want to be alone with women is because even if it's a woman you're not attracted to, but once those feelings get flowing,
it's a problem.
You're willing to do anything to hit that orgasm. Like almost pretty much anything. You're at the mercy at someone right in the moment right now, right? You're like, oh, I don't care what you want done like this. Okay, cool, right? Like this is unfortunately the nature of man in that almost animalistic type nature. That when you are aroused like that and you are looking for that, you can be persuaded to do a whole lot of things.
Yep, never be alone.
You can betray your own spouse. You can betray your children. You can do a lot of different things, and that's why it's a big fitna for men, right? And I don't know. I think that it didn't. I can't believe it started off this way.
No, it didn't.
I think it was a build-up over conversations, and it's just.
Bro, Mort, if you were put yourself in his position, you probably have hundreds and hundreds of female students that are all private message, all that. this is why this is a problem. No man should have that much type of access to women ever. No man, no God-fearing man should have that much access to women.
So
think about hundreds of students that are just constantly praising you. They love the way you do it, constantly complimenting you. Any man would crack them. That's the stupidest position to put yourself in. That's what I was talking about the halwa thing.
I don't disagree with that, but I think what Sim is coming from a different angle.
No, I know he is.
Like, why? What compels him? Like, I think that what Sim is trying to say is that even if that was the case, and even though he had these horniness flowing through him, at some point you have to know a 12-year-old child is a line you don't cross. What compels you to go beyond that? Like,
deception.
I think that's what you're trying to get at, right?
Well, I hear you what you guys are saying. I'm just thinking that, like, in any other situation where a teacher crosses the line with a student, right? And let's just say an over 18 student or over 21 student, she's that situation that you guys are talking about applies. But what possesses a man to be interested in that, you know? And that's what is like boggling my mind, like how there's thousands of teachers, right? And I know there's many other instances that are happening like this in other parts of Canada. People, after I put this out on Facebook, people have reached out to me from different parts of the country saying this has happened to us, and they don't want to talk about it, but this is like, thank you for talking about it at least, and bringing this issue to the forefront, because this is happening and it's very difficult to talk about, and it's very important that people make this an issue that is highlighted by individuals such as ourselves, who are constantly talking about whatever is happening in the religion, or especially with things that are happening in the West. This issue is not something that we want to talk about. I can't tell you how repulsed I was with this. I couldn't sleep. I got this document like at 12 midnight. I couldn't sleep till like 4, I think. And I think I only had like a couple hours of sleep that day, and I had work the next day, and it was just it was just the most horrible thing to talk about.
I don't know too much about this case because I got young kids, and I just heard a couple lines, and it just freaked me out so much. Yep. And I'm like, I'm not talking about this. I'm not reading it. It was being passed around all the chat groups. That's why I'm just sitting here quietly, because I don't know anything about this case. I don't want to know anything about this case.
It's incredibly
it is horrifying.
There's a reason why we're just kind of skimming through this document, fellas, because it's because it's so terrifying. It's beyond disgusting, because he's talking, he's instructing this girl, this child, and telling her that her orgasm will get her closer to Allah.
Yeah. You know
and that's mind blowing that someone would use their gift of Arabic and Quran, something many of us are dying to learn and be like engrossed in, and he's using these verses and lying about it. He's just flat out lying. He's using his credibility and creating lies and deceiving and abusing an innocent child. It just.
Yeah, and you know, it's weird.
It hurts, man.
So Sam, you were asking a question, like you asked Sheikh Amir, like, you know, are there nations before us, like other institutions, like are there Islamic books or something that talk about, like, you know, has this happened before?
Yeah, like what the tafsir is, you know, related to this.
And I don't know about like Islamic works, but I mean, obviously, this stuff has been going on since the beginning of time, right? It's part of human nature.
Yeah, we know about like the Aristotle and Plato and stuff. They were child molesters and stuff.
Yeah. So there is a long history throughout a lot of different cultures of teachers and students doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, right? And that like is in almost every culture. Like Chaucer's Canterbury Tales has stories like this. There's a lot of Arab poetry about stuff like this. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. They all
used to trade
stuff.
Information for boy sex.
Yeah.
Oh, there's bachabazi that's happening today, right now in Afghanistan and northern Pakistan. So it's like it's like accepted part of their culture. It's like, what the hell? Like, how could you be?
People aren't willing to implement justice, bro. That's the problem.
And I think that's why it's really important. Like
people don't have that fear.
How you and Mort were saying, like, you know, you cannot have khalwa. If you have kids, young kids, like if you're taking them to a Quran teacher, you got to sit there the whole time and watch them. You can't just drop them off and be like,
Sheikh, does this happen in Egypt?
I'm pretty sure, dude. I'm pretty sure it happens everywhere. Like I haven't witnessed anything like that, but this kind of stuff happens everywhere. People are always going everywhere in the sense where not a majority of people are not like this. We have to be very clear about that. But are there people who find opportunities, who have perversions? Yes, that's always
maybe this won't be the most PC answer, but I think there's certain cultures that have more of it.
Okay.
And it's because of the nature of how they teach and like also like. And I don't want to say this the wrong way. I think respect of scholars is a big thing. I'm trying very carefully to word this.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And there is a certain admiration you should have for people of knowledge. But at the same time, certain cultures give scholars this overreaching influence over everything in your life to the point where it overrules even common sense. And I don't find that to be common in places like Egypt, right? But certain other places in the world, it is more common. Oh, he's a scholar. How could he ever be wishing something wrong for me?
Yeah.
Or that may not make sense to me, but the scholar knows, you know. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that, and this is not in terms of religion. I'm saying in terms of just everyday life. A scholar is not a person that knows everything about life in general. A scholar is not someone that's going to make you feel uncomfortable about normal boundaries that you have, right? In certain cultures, they're taught to don't say anything back because how dare you question that, right? Yeah. And so in those certain societies, this is more prevalent.
Yeah, you know, there's going to be people who are saying, I'm seeing this in almost every discussion thread. Oh, this is going to divert people away from the religion. Well, I got news for you, people who want to be diverted from the religion, want to use this example or any kind of isolated example of a teacher or any kind of sexual abuse happening among Muslims. 1 out of 6 American women have been sexually assaulted. 1 out of 6.
That's crazy.
All right? 1 out of 6. Wrap your mind around that in whichever way you can. You go out into the public, 1 out of 6 women that you see out there has been sexually assaulted, and oftentimes as a children. Okay, so don't try to make it out to be, oh, these perverted, you know, our imams are perverted and our people are perverted. No, we're seeing. I feel like we're much more shielded and insulated, and these are like new things that are happening to us because now we're
trying to adapt to the way things are now. But
and
we had it right before.
And we have a level of awareness. God bless Wisam's wife,
whatever,
for reporting this. We're indebted to her service. Sure. Like, we as a community, if she needs anything, we have to rally around her and support her in every way.
I mean, and I want to be clear. Yeah, I mean, also, hopefully, as long as this is all true, I mean, we want to make sure, right? I mean, again, it doesn't seem like it's made up, but I'm saying we want to be very clear, right? Because we've seen some crazy things that have happened, especially in our communities, right? We've seen some crazy
things. Sim, two things to your point. Like, if people are like using this as an excuse to leave the deen, first of all, this happened because the rules of the Sharia were not implemented. Yeah. Not because they were implemented. Yep. Also, another really important thing, this is something that is human nature. Allah put this in every single human being as a test. We have good characteristics, we have bad characteristics. This world is a test to make sure that we don't act on those bad characteristics. And if you go to like public school, every single public school has maybe a dozen cases going on in the past or present or future about teachers crossing the boundaries, touching kids, or doing something with that. So it's not like our madrasas or Islamic schools are the problem, and Catholic schools and Jewish schools and public schools are completely like immune because they have like American laws and American morals, or like, you know, whatever you want to call it, secular morals, right? Like we're all American and stuff, but like there's nothing that is our problem. This is a human problem, and this goes back thousands of years. I mean, Aristotle was doing this stuff with kids. Every culture has like stories about this type of stuff. Yeah. Going back hundreds of years. This is not a Muslim thing.
And the reason why you're saying that is because, hey, don't think that your community is immune from this. Take your kids very, very seriously, and don't just dump your children places. You know what I'm saying? Do research, do your due diligence, and it doesn't mean you have to doubt everybody. You just have to be careful. That's all.
You got to double check everything, man. These are your kids. If you don't you double check who's the best doctor. Yeah. You double check which is the best school. Yeah. You double check, triple check who are the
Amazon
best
reviews.
Amazon reviews, right? You don't take anything below 4 stars. Why are you just dumping your kids off and then being like, oh, I got 2 hours, let me go hit up the whatever, like nail salon, or let me go watch a football game? This is your future. This is your legacy. This is your Sawabi Jawaria, right? Like, you can't, and this is a human being, like an innocent child. You can't just dump them wherever you want, man.
That's the worst part, dude.
Like, I didn't read the case. I don't know how old the victim, the daughter, was, but like
12.
She's under 12. Under 12.
That is insane.
That's insane.
I don't let my kid out of the room for more than like 5 minutes because I know he's gonna be like jumping off the table.
And I was telling this to you guys even before the show started. Like, the next day, I was pissed off when I found out about this. The same day, the next day, I was pissed off because I was always pissed off. People always made me feel uncomfortable for not teaching groups of women and giving your number and have open access to them. And they used to make me feel like an idiot. Like, what's wrong with you? You know, you shouldn't be doing this. You're making all these people feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't be talking about the Sparta in the middle with boys and girls. You shouldn't be doing this separation between boys and girls. You're backwards. You're archaic. So I was pissed off the first day about that because obviously there's a different case, but these issues happen not at this extreme level, but a lot of the hanky-panky happens, but nobody wants to talk about it, right? Between a lot of these teachers and influencers and instructors. But then today was very, very different. Like, today, I felt what these other dudes were talking about, like having a hole in their chest. I was driving, bro. I felt like spaced out. I was already kind of spaced out yesterday. But then, like, you see, like, innocent children, you're like, bro. And more, you said something beautiful. Yeah, it's very, very important to be in tune with like the Muslim world and the children, what's happening to the children of Gaza. But we have more control of what's happening to children here. And how are we not doing our due diligence of protecting these? Dude, I didn't know that statistic of 1 of 6 women.
Well, it's probably more, bro.
That's freaking insane.
That's
and I was looking at sexual predators. Like, before.
That's just what's reported.
Yeah,
no, but even the sexual predator thing, like, I didn't know that the number changed from like 60 men being, and 40 women, 40% of women.
Bro, it's so bad that
being predators.
You think that? I heard stories where a girl is telling her mom, a liberal mom, an educated mom, not some conservative. I'm talking about liberal, like blue, like woke liberal, mom who's a feminist and who's about female empowerment and stuff. And she's telling her mom, "I'm being molested," and her mom's ignoring her. She's ignoring her. She's saying, "No, I know that guy. He wouldn't molest you." And these are the lives of non-Muslims right now. People who say that they believe in feminism and they believe in all these different fake moral structures related to female empowerment and being an able-bodied, empowered woman. They don't even embody it themselves.
86% of women. I read the statistic before coming here. And you guys can maybe double check it. 86% of people generally who have been sexually abused are not believed.
Yeah.
86% of them. That's freaking insane, bro.
Yeah. I mean, the thing, and I think that this is what I was telling Sim. Like, I mean, I normally don't get fazed by a lot of things.
Oh yeah, I know that. And this dude, bro, I haven't seen Mort like this in a long time.
Mort was crushed when he heard this.
It's not just about Wisam. I'm thinking this child. Like,
yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, we spend all this time talking about the children of Gaza, and we can't even keep our kids safe here, like in a place of comfort where a child is so. And you know what's crazy is how many children now are going to be damaged by this idea, like associate the Quran with abuse.
Yeah.
Thank
God. I mean, hopefully there was not other children that these. I mean,
alhamdulillah, we didn't have to like go through that. But do you blame them for being away from Islam? Then
I think this hits a lot. This really hits home because it's the mother doing it to their own daughter, and everyone knows that the mother is like a mother will kill herself, throw herself in fire to save her daughter, her son, right? I think that's the thing that really like shook people.
Yeah, that's
and you know what also gets me too is that this is not some like back home, madrasa teacher, right? That totally out of tune.
Is it the mother pimping the daughter? That's what this is.
This is the mother.
No. I'm saying even
for those who are wondering in the chat, for the viewers, I know many of you guys have seen this, but Suzanne, Blake Barakat.
Gives me mutli, man, looking at this picture now. Bro.
She looks like one of those fentanyl abusers.
Exactly.
Was there like
So she was
mental health issues or
Well,
drug
we don't
abuse?
know, but what? Look, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. What are people
Don't
gonna
play
s-
devil's advocate.
No,
Not in this thing.
what are people gonna say when they say, you know what? Well, this is why you got to be careful with, bringing on reverts and marrying reverts, right? They might say this, right? They might be like, hey,
They come with different baggage.
No, it's not that they're inherently bad, but there's a lot of stuff that happens, maybe trauma.
wait. Why is she? Her last name's Barakat.
Yeah, so maybe she married.
She probably married some other.
Yeah,
dude.
some. I mean, Blake is.
I think
I've
she's
seen-
supposed to be a convert.
I've seen a lot of Arabs who are.
I think she's supposed to be a
Blake.
convert.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that piece of information from?
Just through
It's
the
not- it's not-
waves.
No, but I'm saying look at the first
Oh.
first name and middle name. Like it's very clear that she probably took
She
that.
has two
Well,
white
fine.
names.
I'm saying people probably thinking that. Maybe you're not.
You
Maybe
could
you're
be.
right. Yeah, maybe you're not. Maybe what I'm saying is that people will say that, hey, sometimes you got to be careful because if the abuse is that prevalent, they're saying, right, especially in societies like in America, right, they're saying, hey, they may be wonderful people. Islam is for these people, but do we need to start looking at people's past and their trauma? Because that stuff comes back later on.
Yeah, I know. Dude,
Culturally,
before you get married to somebody, a full investigation has to be done.
right. But what I'm saying
Drug
is
tests,
that
I personally believe, bro, drug tests should be done. You could tell, I talked to some of the brothers down in
STD
Chicago.
tests, drug tests?
Talk to some of the brothers and sisters in Chicago, and you could tell they'll know that the person didn't disclose that they had HIV. Yeah, bro. Yeah, that happens. It's not a prevalent thing, but it's happened.
No, I'm saying, but even aside
That's
from
really
HIV,
important.
there's the very common STDs like chlamydia,
Yeah.
gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes. No, these are
I
common
know.
things that people get. And the problem is that it's crazy because sometimes you don't even know you're carrying these things.
Yeah.
You think you did this zina like years ago, right? And you're still carrying some of this stuff, right? And and unfortunately, this is the society that we live in where zina is common.
Yeah.
It's very common, right? And if you're getting married, you need to do your best because already marriage in itself is difficult. Already marriages in America, forget about religion or not, but 1 in 4 marriages are failing in America. 50% end up in divorce, right? So that, like I said, we're not above other religions and right? What they're being affected by maybe will be delayed in a while before it hits us, but it's coming to us. Especially in where we live, right?
And just because the whole I know you're going to say something really, really quick, really important point, just to delve into this. People take the verse when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You're the best ummah that was brought out from mankind. But it's not inherently because you're Muslim you're greater, because Allah gives us the reason why. Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar. Because you encourage the good and you forbid the evil, right? You enjoin in the good and you prohibit what's evil. You make aware what's evil and you stop people from doing whichever means you have to control that. But that's what makes you the ummah that's the best ummah. If you don't have those characteristics, you're a part of the ummah, but you're not a part of the ummah that empowers the ummah.
And the minute you stop doing that, Allah threatens us with replacement.
You're right.
Right? And this is, so when you talk about people leaving or all the stuff, right? This could be a consequence of you being a nation that does not enjoin the good and forbid the evil.
Yeah. It's not far-fetched.
There's a saying, what's that saying that I forgot who said it, but it's a popular saying that evil prevails when good men do nothing.
Yeah.
And it's very true because good men have always had to stand up when things were difficult and say, this is wrong, this is right, you have to stop this. They have to put their bodies in the line, their money in the line, their safety in the line, even to the point where they have to take time away from their families. But they have to do what's right and what's just, because if they don't, there's a bigger picture here. Society becomes lost, right? And that's difficult. Like, what that sister did, it's not just men, I mean even women, right? I'm just giving the example, but what that sister did by reporting her own husband. Imagine what that's probably not an easy decision, right? I don't know what her background is or whatever it is.
Forget just finding out.
But I mean, first of all, being devastated by that, right? But then also worrying about, well, if I leave, I'm sure he's probably making good money. You probably had some status in society because you're so-and-so's wife, right?
Yeah.
Leaving all of that and not knowing if people would even be receptive.
And what's going to happen?
Are you lying about it? Oh, you don't. You're just a disgruntled ex-wife or someone who. I mean, imagine if the stuff that could be said about you.
And what's going to happen to the kids?
Right, the kids,
Bro.
your own living situation.
Part of me didn't want to do this podcast because I was so afraid of the kids. Like look, how much are they going to hide from the kids of what was up with dad? You know what I'm saying? Like,
but what I'm saying though is that it's not easy, especially for a woman in that position, to do what she did.
No way.
Right, and yet she's doing what men should be doing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these people we say who are coming out with all these wonderful condemnation and strong condemnation posts. Where were you years ago when stuff was happening?
Yeah.
Where were you when enjoying the good, when we've been telling you that, hey, these mixed classes you're having, these shake crushes we're telling you about, you guys would blow us off on, and tell, you guys are being harsh. You guys are anti-women. You don't want to recognize women's scholarship. You don't want equal panels for women and men. This is not about equality or equity. This is about protecting your honor. It's about protecting your religion,
and protecting yourself
protecting
from
your
the
chastity,
bro.
protecting you from the hellfire.
Yeah, man.
At the end of the day, does that celebrity status mean anything? Let me ask you something. To the people that care about this equity in receiving knowledge, at what cost do you pay? Is it beneficial to receive all that knowledge and end up in the hellfire, or have little knowledge and be in Jannah? Or have a lot of knowledge and have torment of the grave, and little knowledge and easement in the grave?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea is that I'm not saying that women can't learn. I'm saying the way that you guys are trying to portray this as the only option that women can learn, or that young boys and girls can learn, is not the way that is the only option.
But more, this is the problem. This is where I was talking about capitalism, is because in order to do that, it's a money-making machine. If you get the sisters on board, you're going to get so many other people on board. I have a feeling, I'm not saying all of Al-Maghrib, but what I'm saying is...
You need to expand on that. The way to popularity for a sheikh in this country, in the West, you get the sisters on board.
Yep.
Once the sisters, you galvanize support among them, you're starting to sell out. You're starting to sell out
because they're making
everywhere.
the posters.
Wait.
They're making
you're sell out, meaning you're selling out like your venues and
bro. I met some
your
dude.
classes and stuff.
I met a dude. Like I don't know
Yes,
how
girls. The sisters love to learn. You know?
No. Sisters love to learn. But check this out. I know a dude. I probably know two dudes like this.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to give away too much detail, but
No,
this
go
dude.
ahead.
No. I don't know how this dude's a
Details.
man, bro. Like if one of these scholars are in town, I'm not going to mention that one either.
Give me the initials.
No. That's what everybody knows everybody by anyway. We don't even use people's names anymore. Use initials. It's more stronger than the name. But what
Give me his SSN.
The wife will say, he's in town and you're not going to take me. How dare you? I'm going to go on my own to see him. Right? That's one level.
Oh, wow.
The other level is, isn't he so amazing? Oh my God, he's so cute, but like in an Islamic way. In front of her husband. Husband's like, yeah, you're right.
What a youth.
Bro, there's people like that.
Yeah.
There's people like that.
Nah, bro.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But look, why am I saying this? Look, it's one thing is if it was just in a masjid and there's no marketing, but the pompous marketing and we got to get this people and this and like the super machinery that goes behind this. And then you think that you're going to be teaching classical knowledge to people when you use like a super capitalistic way of demonstrating knowledge, like or bringing people to knowledge. No. And that whole thing of like, oh, we got to market this person, we got to do the marketing. Yeah, but just ease off a little bit on this whole capitalistic tendency of doing like super hyper marketing and having this super social media presence where now the intentions are tested. Are you teaching for the sake of knowledge, or are you teaching because you want to make money, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I have a problem with teaching with money, bro.
Yeah.
That's why I have that problem, because when money comes in, it tarnishes the heart, bro. Do you think our podcast, our relationship would be the same? Let's just be completely honest. If money came into the picture, bro,
No.
it wouldn't.
I would sell you for $1.
Dude, if we had, and I remember we did have some sponsors, but they pulled out real quick when you started talking about certain things. But even that sponsorship wasn't. But when money comes in, it's very different. When you get a taste of it, you can either be an imam, and that's why I respect the imams so much, to stick to being imams for 20 years and just, bro, Allah give them Jannah without any reckoning, bro, because they put in the work.
You guys remember this guy? Tony Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Robbins
yeah.
was a huge influence on American Muslim scholars.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
He gave him the template, and many scholars have even credited him openly.
Was he about like brand building,
building how to market yourself, how to speak, how to present yourself in a way that. So I mean, the Tony Robbins influence. I put this out on Twitter. It's been devastating. At least the impact that they've had on Muslim scholars, at least the celebrity scholars, right?
But you know, I think to Amar's point, I think the reason why a lot of women gravitate towards the particular people we're talking about, though, is because, and I think it's because this goes back to what us hard-hearted people, like, I don't want someone to like give me like, and I hate to put it this way, but like here
we go.
No, I'm being honest.
Say it, bro.
But like the Mufti of Zimbabwe style, right? Where you're like, you're just always just giving the heartful. Yeah. It's great for some people, but I think for people like me and Sim, like I want the raw dog truth. Like just give it to me. Like I don't need to have this feel good thing. Right?
I know, but we're all different, right?
I get it, but I'm saying, but that appeals to women more.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they get popular, because that message is more in tune with empathy.
Yeah, but not only that, dude. I think it's a little more Neanderthal than that. I think it's literally just women see influence and they gravitate to influence and they love it. They can't control it, bro. Just like how men can't control certain things.
Listen. The Mufti of Saudi Arabia has a lot of influence. Right? Is he getting a huge sheikh following? No, probably not. Right?
No. When I'm talking about popular meaning very seen. People don't even know what Mufti of Saudi looks like. Majority of Muslims.
Listen. Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, a very popular figure in the Muslim world.
Yeah.
Is going to be probably. I mean, in the Arabic world,
it's
right?
Status, bro.
But I'm saying Sheikh Mohammed Hassan, dude. Like people. I mean, do you think the women are doing this stuff to him?
I mean, he's popular, bro.
He's popular, but I'm saying, like, I mean, just like he doesn't. But what I'm saying is that it's not. There's a certain thing that they're doing. There's the skits that they do, the advertisements they do, the little short tidbits they do on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. That's designed specifically to reach an audience.
Yeah.
It's designed, like to what Sim was saying. It's designed to tap into that empathy that a certain demographic of people are going to respond to.
I definitely think
that's the problem I have.
Here's the thing. Look, you can't just change the way you market just because it's going to affect some sister some way.
No.
She's going to have a crush on me. There's a game to be played in terms of if you're going to be a scholar and you're going to be wanting to live off of being a scholar, a Muslim scholar. You're going to have to figure out a way to generate revenue, right? And why should you have any less money than anyone else?
See, I disagree with that.
What?
Yeah, I kind of do too.
I disagree. I think, listen, because to make a business off being a scholar, I think you need to fundamentally check yourself. And I'm not saying it's haram or halal. That's not what I'm going to say that. But I'm saying that no two intentions can serve the same purpose, right? Either you're doing it fi sabilillah, and you're doing it because you want to be the ones that enjoy good and forbid evil and be a source of truth for the ummah, or you want to get rich.
Yeah.
Right? You can't mix both of that.
No,
because the ayah in the Quran even talks about, people say, the ayah which says وَيْلُ الَّذِينَ يَكْتِبُونَ كِتَابِ بِأَيْدِهِمْ. They think it's just about people altering the scripture, right? About the kutub that Allah sent. I look at it more than that. It's about people monetizing and saying this is what Allah is presenting to you.
Yeah.
But you understand the difficulty of being a scholar now?
I understand.
You're going to the mosque. The mosque board is controlling you, right? Yeah. They're not letting you say you want to go independently. You can't get too rich. You can't be too poor. You have to be in this like zone that it's acceptable to mort. And who knows what that zone is?
I don't mind a scholar being rich. No, I don't mind a scholar being rich. By the way, I don't mind at all. I'm saying get rich off your own thing.
Yeah.
Not religion. You want to have a multi-million dollar business, run gas station, whatever you want to do. I don't care. That's fine. Make money. Tabarakallah. Make money in this world and the next. I don't mind. I'm saying, but to build a brand and to make sure that to tie your wealth with the knowledge that you're teaching people is a problem.
So you said two things: build a brand, and you said the hardship they had. Yeah, and that's what scholars of the past. People don't like to hear this, but to become a scholar, dude, you got to be poor, bro, to feel the hunger and you really, really got to love it. And if you don't, and you try to find a way to monetize, that's the problem I have, because now there's a few things mixing here. Like you said, like how am I going to outreach? How am I going to? I have to have a presence.
Yeah.
Like, do scholars really have to have a presence? Like that's why I'm saying this. I'm talking about the capitalistic.
They do have to have in order to make money.
In order to make money, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about being a scholar itself.
Yeah,
is a part of being a scholar. When was it to make money? It was to preserve the deen of Allah, even if
you have to survive too.
I know. That's why. Look. Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah was a very wealthy silk merchant.
Yeah,
he was very rich, but it was because he was a merchant, not because of his knowledge.
But he started off poor.
But he went to jail.
Yeah,
because he spoke the truth.
Right.
And a lot of these Imam Malik went to jail because he spoke. And look, people say, oh, but he was extravagant. I could be extravagant. Yeah, he was extravagant. He never wore the same clothes twice. But when he wore those clothes, he used to, at the end of the day, give it to somebody poor and wear brand new, glistening, gleaming type of clothing. But he would give it to the poor person. He wouldn't give it to anybody who wasn't. But the thing is that he made that money, and he was already rich before he was a scholar. Yeah. He was late into scholarship compared to people like Imam Shafi'i, and he was like in like his early 20s.
But
right?
my point, Ahmed, is that I don't care how rich you are.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
The point is that did he make money off of charging students? Did he make money off of did he make money by saying, "Oh, look at me, look at my"?
But the Islamic government used to pay the scholars; they were on payroll.
Hey, look, that's fine.
Yeah, I know.
I'm saying,
but they were still poor. Some of them.
But what I'm saying though is that if you don't have an Islamic government or a khilafah that does it, then you can't go out and start building a brand, because even when the government gives you money, they're not doing it because they're trying to make you popular, right? They're doing it because you're serving a purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so I'm saying
you're a government official,
right?
Basically,
you're representing the morality, the ideals, of the government, right? My point is simply this, right? I am not against scholars being filthy rich.
Yeah.
I really am not. I encourage people to be as wealthy as they can be, because with money comes influence and ability and safety and comfort and a lot of opportunities, right, to do good.
Options, yeah.
But it's how you make your money.
Yeah.
Right? And what my issue is that, and this is what I'm going back to saying, that we're not different than other nations. We're different in the sense that we have the risala, we have this message given to us, but in terms of our nature, we're not different.
Yeah,
we can fall to the same traps.
Yep.
When the Jews were trying to cheat Allah by putting nets on the Sabbath, right? We do these things in different ways. We're trying. Some of these people are trying to cheat and say we're doing this fi sabilillah for the ummah, but they're really trying to catch their dollars in their nets, right? So who are you fooling at the end of the day? So who are you actually fooling at the end of the day?
I get your point. What's your point, Sheikh Hammer?
About what?
Like, you guys were going back and forth, and I got his point. I understand what point he's trying to make. I don't understand what point you're trying to make.
The point that I'm trying to make, I agree with the portion of you should be doing something else to make money. But when you get into, like, we keep hearing the word promoting, marketing, a presence, right? What goes into that? I want you to think, like, number one, where do those ideals come from, and what tactics are we using in order to bring people in? They're very getting into people's senses, which is what capitalism does, in order to feed those whims and those desires, and providing a service that does that. And we use now we start using, to do that, it starts off with visuals, because we're visual creatures, right? We use all types of different marketing that makes people happy, that makes them feel welcome, makes them feel warm, and all this, because I'm teaching a very simple class, right? But what that does is that allows people to pay more money because it looks a lot nicer, right? And I've been to some expensive classes, not nearly as good as classes I got for free, right?
So your point is that the marketing is really bad.
Like, I'm saying the idea of Islamic teaching is dependent upon marketing for many, many people now.
And that shouldn't be the case.
That shouldn't be the case. It should be a simple masjid. Like, go to a masjid, and a sheikh teaches inside of the masjid. People come, people don't.
You open the books.
People come, people don't. That's what Islamic teaching was, right? Yes, you have to make knowledge accessible to people. I get that, right? And that's where it becomes a gray area, because now one side of you says, I have to spread Allah's deen as much as I can, and this is a new way of doing it, because we're in 2024.
And Tim, what were you saying? Like,
I'm saying, I actually agree with these guys. I always suggest to scholars that you always have an alternate stream of income. You should not depend on having Islam being your source of wealth. You should have another career, going to IT or whatever, and Islam should keep the money out of Islam. Like, sure, you can have a nominal charge for classes and stuff like that. But I'm talking about like this mode of being so dependent on your revenue generation and that your marketing and all the glitz and glam that come with it. I think that's an extreme, and I'm not saying it's haram. I'm just saying this is kind of emblematic of what the problems are that within society that we're trying to fix as Muslims living in the West, being the ambassadors of Islam to the West. We are adopting their own problems into our mindset, into our framework. That's what a lot of Muslim scholars who adopted Tony Robbins' framework was, that he was operating from a different paradigm. He's operating from a capitalist paradigm. He's operating from a world where you need to get rich. That's their mindset.
You know what? What I keep going back to the same point. Don't think that you're above other nations. What do we say? What was the number one critique that we would make of the evangelical pastors? Look how they profit off of their community.
Bro, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The rise of Islam, the fundamental, how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought Islam to the world was not with wealth. It was such an important point that was being made throughout the seerah.
He turned down wealth.
I mean, of course they need to buy weapons and stuff. But they weren't wealthy people.
Yeah.
How Islam rose was in spite of being poor. Allah raised our status throughout the world, that we weren't pivoting our success off of money and wealth, and that's what we have that other nations don't.
Yeah.
And look at
we never promised wealth. We never,
and that's such a crucial thing that I think like Muslim academia, Muslim scholars in the West just are completely oblivious to. Of course, yes, you could be rich, but using Islam as your vehicle, as this marketing tool, as this glitz and glam. I went to one of these. Of course, I'm not going to mention the scholar's name, but it was like one of those. You enter into the first couple days, it's free, and man, like there were 200 or so students, and majority of them were women. He's an attractive guy too, but they were like not just any woman. One after another. You could see their pictures, like as you're like you sign in, you have your profile picture up on, and bombshells after bomb. I'm like, what is this going? Like, I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm like, how is this possible that this guy? I mean, he's decent. I mean, he's no, he's not giving any kind of knowledge that can't be accessible anywhere else. I mean, it's fine. He's a good speaker. It's not like amazing speaker, just knock your socks off. I'm ready to go to Hajj or whatever after listening to him. He's not that kind, And I'm just wondering, like,
you're not supposed to wear socks in Hajj. Just letting you know.
He said, knock your socks off and then go to Hajj.
So he did a good job. He marketed it. I think that, I think you should give more credit to that guy.
No, so you were saying.
So there's something happening. Something weird's happening.
Yeah.
Where people, the way these platforms have been built are attracting, if not in that situation, a mindset or something's happening in the noodle, in the brain, where these guys think like, hey, why not me? Why shouldn't I have that girl? And they just like, they look at one of their students and they're like, you know what? I'm going to wife her up, and that's kind of what's happening. I think there's at least in that regard. But
so
we're
I'm going to say something.
Look, we got to move on too.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. I know one thing that made me very disenfranchised with a lot of these organizations is, and I don't say even till this day who it is, and it's not just one; it's more than a few. Of a certain organization where they have these big names behind them, and these same guys are the ones who these sisters go to for advice, and they're willing to meet with them on the side for coffee and then try to convince them to leave their husbands and say, why don't you marry me instead? And they use these positions, and ever since then I've just realized that these places are like the cesspool of fitna. As much as they want to, people ask me, are you going to attend this conference? Never. You're going to go to this thing? Why not? Right? And I'm like, okay, well, because I know, I don't want to, and you know, it's hard for me to say this because people say you're just being negative. No, I know, I see these for what they are. I see them as giant social clubs for young girls and women and men who think that they're going to try to mix the idea of getting education and flirting around. This is what they, instead of going to a nightclub or instead of going to a lounge or a shisha cafe or going out to the movies, whatever it is, right? This is what they're doing for their recreational entertainment.
We just want a more pure version of it.
Right? So what I'm saying is that they're not seeking knowledge, they're seeking companionship.
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, there's some people that are really, really devout and seeking knowledge. I know what you're saying, though.
Listen, all I'm saying is that people I've known to be really devout, they walk to one of these classes and they're never coming back to them. They're getting out of Dodge. They want nothing to do with it. Like, man, this made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Right? And so that's my point.
And that's why some of these guys are wagging their fingers.
People can delude themselves and say, oh, we've done so much benefit. And again, this is the whole thing where ends justifies the means. It doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. There's inherent problems with it. Yeah. Again, what good is that knowledge if it's going to if the process is going to lead you to the hellfire?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a lot that can be. I'm imagining there's going to be a lot more conversations to be had. There's rumblings of another scandal that's going to be breaking out. I don't know the details of it. I don't even have a name, but some sources of mine have said that someone else, another high-profile figure, is going down. So be on the lookout for that. Unfortunately, it's not something to look forward to, but it's just kind of preparing our listeners in that regard too. There's many of these cases that are happening, but it's still not the majority. It's definitely a minority. I cannot underscore and emphasize enough to always be involved in your child's life. As a parent, your child should be able to talk about whichever mistake and whichever problem they're having in their life.
Agreed.
And it should always be met with kindness and love and understanding. And as difficult as it may seem, trying to wrap your mind around, you may have taught your child as much as possible in preparing them to avoid these situations and making mistakes and stuff. They'll still end up doing it sometimes.
Yeah. And it's a delayed onset.
You have to be that safety net where they should be comfortable with you enough where they come to you and they say, hey, Baba, Mommy, I messed up.
Yeah,
I messed up. I did this, and I don't know how to get out of it. I need your help to get out of it.
No, also, the other flip side is like we got to be educated and look at the signs of abuse, right? If someone else is abusing our kid, if something else is happening, they are going to feel like did something wrong, right? That tends to be a common thread in a lot of these child abuse cases. You got to be on the lookout. You got to be like eagle-eyed to make sure, like, hey, my kid's behavior is off. Something's happening. Someone's bullying him at school. The teacher yelled at him. Or, I mean, you know, like little things and then also big
things. But that only comes, and this is what I was saying earlier, that only comes if you're involved as an active parent.
And
if you're offloading your parenting responsibilities to teachers and television and the internet, you're not going to see these signs. You have to be a parent. There's no ifs and buts about it.
Brother Isa in the chat says, Cat Williams,
I wasn't lying.
Everyone's going down this year. He wasn't lying.
I guess these imams are having their freak offs.
I love you, Brother Isa. Good joke. So it looks like Michigan is going to Donald Trump.
Wow.
Woo-hoo! Same with North Carolina.
Wow. So breaking news. Is it breaking?
No. Michigan hasn't counted yet. It's 50% done. But North Carolina has been called for the first swing state. Has been called for Donald Trump.
Oh, but right now though the polls are. I just saw the map of Michigan. It's all red.
But it's only 50% counted as far as the votes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you have to
it's looking like it's going to go
towards the 50%.
Okay, sorry.
Right, yeah.
I take it back.
Because
CNN retracts.
So what happens, you have to understand something. The rural areas get counted first because they come in pretty quickly.
Oh, they're easy.
It's usually like the major cities that take a while to get in because they have to tally everything up, right? The different districts. So that's why you always tend to say later on in the problem in the process every year, the blues start coming back because the major cities start reporting, right? Like especially in battleground states. So I'm not saying it's the other way, but I'm just saying that this is normally expected. That's why they always start off.
I have a feeling they're not even gonna have results tonight, bro. I don't think it's gonna be tonight or tomorrow.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Well, apparently I was following this, and apparently both sides have prepared legal teams like since 2 years ago, and they have like these templates ready to go to write injunctions in. So if this is a scenario, they have a template to go throw this into the court, and to like they're expecting a battle in court to happen.
I heard about this.
Yeah,
our buddy Umar told me about this. He said that he doesn't think that this is gonna finish with the election.
I was hoping for a landslide because I hate those like weak. Remember when that happened last time?
Like, just let me know.
Wasn't that John Kerry's election? when
and then Al Gore and Bush.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with the hanging chads in Florida.
Yeah, hanging chads in Florida. Had to go to the Supreme Court. It was so stupid. But
Sam is the kind of guy that just let me know, let me figure out how to do. What's my next?
I just hate election coverage, man. It's just so annoying. They're all the same. Let's move on. You're going to kill us anyway as Muslims. That's the way I've seen it. The only reason why I voted for Jill Stein is just to let the powers that be, or the Democrats, I guess, to know that there's a lot of support behind Palestine.
That Muslim blood isn't cheap. You can't just walk away after like committing a genocide.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sim, for voting.
Voted for your Green Party. We are now speaking with our national Green Party.
I believe that the Hakimiyya belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone.
I mean, yes, sir.
Look, so I wasn't really like super involved in political stuff like this at a national level. But then after hearing Sami Hamdi, seeing him, meeting him here, I was like, man, we really do need to do something. And it's like, okay, I can't do a lot, right? I can't like go and save everyone in Gaza or anything like that, but at the very least, I'm going to do whatever I have control over, which is like, you know, local elections and things like that. So that's why after, like, Sami Hamdi was really super inspiring, man. He helped me get into, or like motivated me to get into this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, one thing I really liked about Sami Hamdi, obviously he's a great orator, he's a great speaker. But when he was on that, when he was on the Thinking Muslim podcast, and when he was going all out and he was really, really crying and everything, but the point was very meek after. I was like, man, all that emotion, it was just about teaching them a lesson. I don't know. I'm not saying what he's doing is wrong. None of that. It's just, man, I'm so sick of all of this deception, not from him. I'm talking about from the political processes and people who still have faith in this and are all gung-ho about voting. I was like, I don't know, man. I think we got to get a life for this.
I know. I think he just...
Because the reason why is more...
It's grasping at the straws and I trying to stay afloat, right? And I understand that, but I'm just saying that, like, for certain, it doesn't... I think there's a certain understanding that you have to have of the process in America that makes a difference. Like, whether me and Sim and all of us voted Jill Stein today, the Democrats don't give a crap. They expect this. They know. Like, they stopped campaigning in certain parts of the Arab areas in Michigan because they know it's going red.
Yeah.
They already know that. What they look at is like, okay, these are our wasted votes. We know we're going to lose this amount. They've been politically strategizing this for 4 years. They know we've lost 10% of the Chicago vote. They know that. They're going to write it off and say, well, they're just disgruntled this time around. Give them another 4 years. They'll come back later on. We'll have a different message, right? So, yes, it does show that in this election, there's some weird geeky strategy who's tallying numbers about who voted who, right? Yeah, it might make a difference to him, but in the grand scheme of things, they don't give a crap. They know they lost your vote.
Yeah, but I think if you really want to have influence, man, I mean, look, there's people, movements, and protests who had much more influence on the American public. I mean, look what Gaza did for the whole entire world, and the people that rallied behind it, like. A big portion of Americans know that our foreign policy is a sham for Israel because of people's activism. Not government had no involvement in that. Exactly. So people's activism, platforms. I mean, yeah, we're not the biggest platform in the world, but we're trying our best to use our voices. And I firmly believe that this podcast has much more influence than a vote does. You know what I'm saying? To the Muslim world and to ourselves.
No, it does, because you guys were one of the first people that brought Sami Hamdi here in the early stages. You got his name out, and then look, every single person has something to contribute, right? Not everyone is going to be a politician. Not everyone is going to be a podcaster. Not everyone's going to do this. But all of that effort will coalesce. There's going to be people that give khutbahs. All of this stuff comes together, and then everyone pitches in, and they help change the situation in Gaza slowly but surely.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like you guys brought in Hamdi, and everyone else started bringing Hamdi on.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things, at least for me, was related to the whole voting issue, was because Muslims were doing something. They wanted to be part of something collectively, even though as ineffective I think it is. I'm like, you know what, Sim? Just shut your mouth this time. They're trying to do something. All right? Let them try to make whatever dent they can. But even if it's the wrong dent, right? It's something we did together.
Exactly.
The more important thing was that, at least from my perspective, was just to let that we unify on something. And we get, if we are even able to make a dent together, that's great. Even if we make a mistake on it, that's fine too. If it was a mistake that Trump gets elected and he puts us all in concentration camps, that would suck. But hey, we did that together as a united group of people.
We'll be in one jail, all of us together. At least we have company.
We'll have each other, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's still important. I think that's a win in the win column. As horrible as that sounds, the end result, I think that is a win because we didn't have that. We can't do anything together and unify on any issue, and maybe it can lead to something better in the future. Maybe we will all. My dream is that we will all, including non-Muslims, get disenchanted with the system and call for real change, like an overhaul.
That's not too far away. That's not too far away.
Or an overhaul of the Constitution, because as great as I've been on record saying, the United States, on its face value, the U.S. Constitution is an incredible document.
It is,
and it is something that, at least one of the blind spots, at least, was that they didn't realize how much capitalism would influence the society and take over the electorate and the whole election process, right? So I think there's a lot of benefit to be gained, even if Trump gets elected and turns out to be a bad decision.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like what happened to me. Like I saw all the stuff happening in Gaza. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm going to do one thing. I saw the podcast and I've been watching it for a while. I'm like, these guys are pretty smart. I'm going to go volunteer with Sim, get involved, help in whatever way I can. That's how I got involved. I met Sami Hamdi. And then I'm like, okay, he's a smart guy too. I don't necessarily believe in all the political process, but he's saying that this is a strategy that we can do. We divide the vote. We go for Green Party. They break the two-party system. They get 5%. They get more funding. That helps break the monopoly. And Imam Tam Faqeen said the same thing, right? So I'm like, those two guys are way smarter than me. I'm sitting here watching TV, killing time on Netflix. At least, even though this isn't perfect, this is a better use of my time. And at least on the day of judgment, I can say, hey, I sat with these brothers here. I sat with those brothers there. I used my time wisely. I did whatever little that I could do to help my brothers and sisters in Gaza.
But I want our listeners to also understand that while it's important that we take our activism seriously and do the things that Shaz is talking about related to, making a change through the political process, but once, inshallah, this Gaza crisis is over and the people are able to, whether if they want to leave or stay, we do our best. If we can host them in our homes, we host them in our homes. If we can adopt one of these children, because there's a lot of orphans there, we have to. It's not a matter of it'll be all right, it's going to be someone else's problem. Put your money where your mouth is. Right now you can't do anything because there's no child that can even leave. The people of Gaza cannot leave even if they want to. I've talked to every agency possible. It's just not possible. They cannot leave, so they're killing them instead. And the hope is that we in the West specifically, we open our doors to them and to those kids, because the Israelis want them out, right? And at least we can be that especially practicing Muslims, right, be these safe havens for those children to come here.
Rasul was an orphan, man. There should be more than enough.
Also, just to clarify, it's not just political process. Like, I want to clarify, I'm not just advocating for politics.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, this podcast, like, when I first came on, I was really scared because you're talking about Gaza, you're talking about these things that are not popular. At least then they weren't popular, right? My point is, do something concrete that is part of a strategy, that is part of a bigger picture. Don't just, like, go off, you donate $10 and say, oh, I did my part.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, gentlemen. It doesn't look like there's any kind of conclusion that's going to happen tonight. It looks like these votes are going to be going on and on until the later parts of the night. Hopefully, you guys do your tahajjud.
Well, as of right now, Trump is at 2:30.
I'm not losing no sleep over this election. I'm going to go to bed.
This is going to be dragged out, bro. This is going to be dragged out for a while.
It's going to be in the courts. Yeah.
So Harris is at 187 and Trump is at 230.
Shaz, is the Green Party maybe like symbolic for Muslims, like in the sense they're just green and it was kind of like set up for
we're
us
supposed to wear green turbans, right, Sheikh Amr?
We're not supposed to, but I'm saying he's asking a question of your
because
inclination of
for
green
people
towards
who
the green.
for the
Does it
people
have
who
to do
don't
something
know
with the green?
For people who don't know, the Green Party in the United States was its third party. They're very like leftist type individuals, but many of these branches have been abandoned all across the country, and because of Gaza, a lot of these branches are being revived, and people like Shaz have taken political interest in reviving some of these branches all across the country, and they're being revived. It's just funny to me that a party by the name of the Green Party is being just taken over by Muslims.
Yeah.
Can you
It's going to be called 786 Party after that.
or maybe
we'll put the Pakistani flag on it.
What about maybe the Black Party? You have the black banners, you know, we come back. No, but you know what's funny? The only thing I
This guy
remember,
took it to a dark direction, bro.
yeah, but
Literally.
remember the only thing I remember about the Green Party growing up was Ralph Nader.
Yeah, Ralph Nader.
He'd always come to the mosque. I'm like, oh, Ralph Nader.
He's still alive and kicking, man. He's
Oh,
still,
is he really?
yeah, he's still talking about Gaza too. He's very active.
He's definitely inactive, but I think the Lebanese Christian, I believe, but he's a good dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Nader.
Yeah, Ralph Nader.
Oh, snap. I just got that.
Yeah.
40 years later, I just got that.
It was Butch Ware before Butch Ware was Butch Ware.
Yeah.
No, Butch Ware, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah, he's a convert. So, like, that's actually
he's
what...
a convert, he's not Arab, right? Yeah.
But I mean,
But being Muslim, though.
That's kind of what got me interested in the Green Party.
Well,
So when
no,
I saw that
Ralph was Muslim.
No, not Ralph. When
Bush.
Jill Stein nominated a Muslim as her vice president, I was like, holy guacamole. Like, there's a real vice presidential candidate that is a Muslim. So I'm like, you see the Democrats, they don't care about us. You see the Republicans, they don't care about us. And
but
then
the
you
Democrats have
one
Ilhan Umar.
She's
Rashida
dude,
Tlaib.
those are
Tlaib.
like tokens, man. And they don't give them any real power within committees or anything.
Yeah.
So
I
was
wonder
like,
how Rashida Tlaib was going to act when Michigan goes red. Her head's gonna
well, she's not
explode.
endorsing Kamala.
She didn't endorse her.
She did not endorse Kamala.
Well, I mean, she was talking so bad about Trump. So
Yeah, they're everyone's on a limbo right now.
yeah,
man.
it's just it's such an awkward time.
Yeah.
Dude, Gaza like completely flipped and
Yeah.
broke all alliances.
Nobody knows what to think, what to do.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's just kind of like, I don't really want to vote, but I think I should go this way.
Everyone like somebody sent out a really interesting meme. It's like tonight's gonna feel like everyone's waiting for this pregnancy test.
Yeah, it's gonna
results.
be a boy or girl.
Yeah.
I know.
It's
That works.
But it's so interesting. Like, Gaza's so small. It's such a
what I'm
small,
saying.
small place with such a weak resistance movement. And they were able to flip the entire world upside down.
Yeah.
All these, alliances between different countries, they're all in shambles. All of these alliances within American domestic policy and politics within shambles. No one knows what they should do.
But
Like-
you know why Gaza was so awesome, and I was just thinking about this today. It was always the differentiating factor of this world of who's who. Always, it's just
It's a
after
litmus
this,
test.
it was always there from the beginning of time. There's emperors that bargained with Muslims and using Masjid al-Aqsa as a bargaining chip and stuff. But because of this genocide that occurred, then it all just You know, Allah says in the Quran, Yawma tubla sara'ir, you know, Yawm al-Qiyamah, that days of secrets are going to become apparent. That's what Gaza did to the entire world, bro. It brought like a mini Yawm al-Qiyamah and reckoning of historical occurrences and what people and their motives were and what really happened, and the covers being and the barriers being uncovered, everything is uncovered. Dude, so it's Gaza against the world, bro.
It flipped everything in America. It broke all of the old standards.
Yep.
It's causing new alliances to be made. Like, it's a whole new world. And literally, a man with a stick, just throwing a stick in his last moments of death.
Yeah.
And that scene is now going to be like as iconic as, like, you know, the Sheikh Guevara in front of the Red Star.
Yeah.
Like, there's people putting it on like sweatshirts and like T-shirts and stuff. And not just that, like, that scene is now being talked about in the halls of power. And they're like, man, that thing blew up into IDF's face. They were trying to make it as a propaganda video. It just completely backfired on them. And now, like, some of the most powerful people in the world are sitting, having conferences and meetings about that scene from that drone.
Yeah.
And a man sitting on his deathbed.
Yes, sir.
Throwing a broken stick
with a broken arm.
With his arm was blasted off, and he tied it with an electrical cord.
Subhanallah.
He made himself a tourniquet with one hand to cut off the blood flow, and he used his last moments, his last breaths, to throw that stick.
Yes, sir.
In an act of defiance that is now shaking the halls of power in Washington, D.C.
Beautifully put, brother. Beautifully put. Yes, sir.
So, like, I think Muslims need to take advantage of this. We need to strategize. I know that politics is not like the end all and be all, but whatever it is, whether you're going to go like with social media or politics or, you know, social activist work, street work, whatever you want to do, man, if we don't capitalize on this momentum, like, tonight is just the beginning. The next 4 years, we got 4 more years of work to do.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Jazakallah khairan. That's the best way to end this podcast, brother.
Yeah, that's our show for this evening. Brothers and sisters, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Throw a comment in the comment section below with your thoughts to the show. If you would be so kind to be a patron, go to patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks and help out in any way you can. A couple of bucks a month. I always tell the people that, hey, most of your money should be going to Gaza and other people, your close family, relatives. We want to make sure that they're taken care of. Dedicate some an allocation to just people who are trying to bring Islamic media to the forefront and try to bring some sense and reason without, you know, the craziness that you see in the online dawah space. And if this kind of stuff appeals to you, please patreon.com /
give Gaza your dollars and give us your shekels.
Don't we sell fatwas for shekels here?
No, we don't.
SheikhAmir'sFatwas.com.
All right, brothers. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
Dun, 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 dun. I like your intro and exit music. But I missed the drums, man.
Yeah, I made that.